Thanks so much, Bill, for that wonderful introduction. It has become a cliche to introduce a speaker with, here's a speaker who needs no introduction. But today, that cliche is probably accurate. Richard Dawkins is the most cited scientist alive. He was voted the world's top thinker by Prospect magazine, and he is the author of a dozen bestsellers covering science, culture, and religion. And it's my pleasure to introduce Richard Dawkins to you.
Well, thank you all very much for coming. I'm delighted to be here. I've done things in Florida before and very much enjoy coming here. Thank you, Herb, very much for that most gracious, too gracious, really.
No. Told you he's immodest.
Introduction.
He's overly modest.
This book, Brief Candle in the Dark, is volume 2 of my autobiography. Volume 1 is called An Appetite for Wonder and was published 2 years ago and covers my life, childhood, school days, and so on until I was 35 and published my first book, The Selfish Gene. The second volume, Brief Candle in the Dark, covers the remainder of my life so far, and so it's roughly divided in half. Originally, it was supposed to be a single volume autobiography. That was what the publishers contracted. When I got halfway through, I thought it would be a good idea to split it in half, and the publishers all agreed, all except the German publishers, who wanted one great big volume. But everybody else accepted the two-volume format, and Brief Candle in the Dark is volume 2, covers the age 35 to now, and unlike the first volume, which was written chronologically, this one is written thematically. So it doesn't follow chronologically. It's got themes like television, lectures, debates, books, that kind of thing. So Herb, over to you.
Thank you. You know, the title of your new book indirectly pays tribute to Carl Sagan's wonderful book, The Demon-Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark. As both a scientist and a science educator, I think of you as a spiritual heir to Carl Sagan, so to speak. Do you think of yourself that way?
I would love to think of myself that way, thank you. I have enormous admiration for Carl Sagan. I met him only once, but he had exactly, for me, the right attitude towards the promotion of science. He didn't stress the usefulness of science, which many people do, and of course that's important. He stressed the wonder of science, the poetry of science. And that's what I aspire to do. I don't aspire to do it as well as he did, but I'm very grateful to follow in his footsteps.
You know, the subtitle of your book, My Life in Science, can have 3 meanings. The book is about science, it's about your impact on science, and it's also about your life. Regarding your life, I love the story about meeting Lalla Ward. Would you read an excerpt about that meeting?
I think I can find it.
149.
Yes. This was 1992, when Douglas Adams reached his 40th birthday, and his party was memorable for a particular reason. It was there that he introduced me to the actress Lalla Ward, whom he had known from the days when Doctor Who was at its wittiest, because he was the script editor, and she and Tom Baker gave added value to the wit by their inventively ironic playing of the 2 leading roles. At the birthday party, Lalla was talking to Stephen Fry when Douglas led me over and introduced us. Both Douglas and Stephen being absurdly taller than Lalla and me, it was natural that she and I should find ourselves facing each other under a Gothic arch formed by Douglas and Stephen as they exchanged lofty witticisms high above us. Through the archway, I shyly offered to refill Lalla's glass, and when I returned, we rapidly reached agreement that the party was too noisy for conversation. I suppose by any faint chance it wouldn't just possibly be a good idea to go out and have a quick meal, and of course return later, we discreetly slipped away and found an Afghan restaurant off the Marylebone Road. That Lala had read The Selfish Gene and watched my Christmas lectures was gratifying. That she had read The Extended Phenotype and Darwin as well was too good to be borne. I subsequently discovered that, in addition to Doctor Who's companion, she had played a beautiful Ophelia to Derek Jacobi's Hamlet in the BBC TV production, and was also a talented and versatile artist, published author, and book illustrator. As I said, too good to be born. We didn't return to the party. I mentioned to Lala that I was about to embark on my American journey, having added to the itinerary a visit to John Brockman. She said she was about to set off for a holiday in Barbados with a girlfriend from the theatrical world. Impulsively, she asked if I would take her to America with me, although it would mean letting down her friend in Barbados. Equally impulsively, I agreed. Slight embarrassment then opened up. I was due to stay with Dan and Susan Dennett on first arriving in Boston, and later with the Brockmans in Connecticut. In both cases, one house guest was expected, not two. How could I broach the subject? Lala and I fretted that our hosts would ask, it is after all a perfectly normal question to ask of a couple, how long have you two known each other? And we would have had to answer, a week. As it turned out, they didn't ask, and it was only years later that Lala confessed to Dan the truth. Really, said Dan, with possibly mock innocence, I thought you'd known each other for years.
Thank you. What a wonderful love story.